Hello, I'm MC Toon. Today I'm having a look at somebody's idea of how to measure distances on the Gleason's map. Now, anybody knows that if the world were flat and if you had an accurate flat map of the flat Earth, what you'd do is you'd take a tape measure. You'd lay it across the map from one edge to the other. Then you'd bring it down to the legend at the bottom and you'd use that to find out the distance. Now, for some reason, flat Earth maps don't have this. They make up all sorts of excuses and reasons and things that you need to do. Doesn't make sense to me, but they like it. So there's this map that this video sent to that Globusters addressed. I'll show it here. It's the Gleason's Map, 1892, the masterpiece of a genius by 11RTYU. And this is actually just a combination of several other videos by somebody else. But the key thing is that Globebusters, right here, they sent a whole bunch of people to it because they thought it was a good idea and it did a good job of explaining it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at individual ones from the original person that did it, because 11RTU just compiled them together, and this was by EFG Test. And here's the video right here by EFG Test.
During my videos, I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions and explain every detail of this Gleason's map.
I'm sure you will.
The last few weeks I met some wonderful persons on the internet, and one of them, Fritz, asked one of the most frequently asked questions, and that's to measure the distance from Sydney, Australia to Perth.
Why is he wearing a glove?
I also met a wonderful person, his name is Hashmal Dawn. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct.
Wait, do people really think that it's a deal to go from Sydney to Perth? Like, people in Australia know how far that is. It's not a question.
And he wanted to know the distance from Sydney to Chile.
Yeah, that's a good
Santiago de
question.
Chile. So I'm going to explain two flight routes. One from Sydney to North Pole and from North Pole to Chile, and one...
Why would somebody take that flight route? That's not a real flight route. Nobody flies from Sydney to the North Pole and then the North Pole to Santiago. That makes no sense. Why would you do that?
Circumnavigate to Chile.
Circumnavigate.
So let's start with the first one. Fritz asked this question from Sydney, Australia to Perth, Australia. So first we have to find Sydney and Perth. So let's zoom in and have a look. Oops. Here you go. Yeah, as you can see, this is Sydney. Sydney to Perth, Australia. It's there. But first we need to find the latitude and the longitude coordinates.
All right, so he goes through a pretty detailed and complex process to measure the latitude and longitude of these two cities. I'll spare you the details of that and skip right ahead. So now he has found the exact latitude and longitude of Sydney and Perth. Not that it was that difficult to find, but it took him 12 minutes. So here we have latitude 34 degrees south, longitude 151 degrees east, and latitude 32 degrees south, 115 degrees east. So let's see what he does to calculate this distance.
The real distance between Sydney and Perth is 36 degrees. That's the amount of degrees between Sydney and Perth. Multiply by 60 nautical miles. Why 60 nautical miles?
That's a great question, and his answer is going to drive you crazy.
To answer this question, we have to read between the lines. And it says 60 miles to the degree. It means for each degree is in reality 60 nautical miles.
So he's applying 60 nautical miles per degree to the lines of longitude. Now it's well known that there's 60 nautical miles to the degree latitude because the distance between lines of latitude is the same everywhere. 1 degree is 60 miles. That's the definition. But he's applying it to longitude. This is good.
So the total distance between Sydney and Perth is 2,160 nautical miles, and we need a modern conversion to convert it to kilometers, and that's approximately 4,000 kilometers. So I hope I answered the question.
No, you didn't answer the question because that's not right. Not even close. The actual distance between Perth and Sydney is 3,277 kilometers if we use Google Maps, which people use to navigate every day, so they don't disagree too much by it. Or we can look at the actual distance of flights that have been flown. And here we have the actual distance of 3,328 kilometers, or the direct route, if it was the optimal route as planned, was 3,282, a slight difference because of the route changes that a flight would potentially have to take. So he's off by 300 kilometers. Now, you may not think that's a lot, but when you're planning a flight and you have to have enough fuel, when you come in way over like that, you're gonna think you need more fuel and load up more fuel than the need. That makes it more difficult to take off, and that makes your landing weight a bit too high, and it's more dangerous to land when you're overweight. So you would maybe have to dump fuel just to land if you were using this map for navigation. What's going on there? Let's see the rest of his video, because he's about to make some pretty strong claims about the video, or about his map.
And I have to say, the Gleason's map is scientifically and practically correct.
When used as it's supposed to be, of course, but not when it's used to do direct navigation, because it's not correct.
In the next video, I'm going to answer the question to measure the distance from Sydney to Santiago de Chile.
Well, I can't wait. Let's see. So here we are on the second video by EFG Test, where he's going to show us how to measure or calculate the distance between Sydney, Australia and Santiago, Chile. Buckle up. It's going to be good.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate and measure the distance from Sydney to the pole and from the pole to Santiago.
Why would you do that? Nobody would ever fly it. But here's the thing. The distance is going to be accurate, because that's the one thing that the Gleason map can do right.
And to circumnavigate from Sydney to Santiago. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you that it is possible to calculate a straight path from Sydney to Santiago.
Yeah,
But
bet.
I will show you in another video how I did it. Don't forget to check some great Threadler channels in the descriptions below.
You bet.
Again,
Simon
this
Dan,
map is scientifically
Conspiracy
and
Cats.
practically correct. I had a wonderful discussion with this person on the internet. His name is Hashmal Don, and he wants to know the distance between Sydney, Australia and Santiago de Chile. In the first part of my video, we found the coordinates for Sydney, and we're going to do the same for Chile.
All right. Again, he takes a long time to find the coordinates of Chile, of Santiago, Chile. It's not that hard to find, and it doesn't need to be that tedious. So I'll just skip ahead. All right, so he's found the coordinates for Santiago, Chile. Just wait. See how he calculates this. It's great.
It means the distance from Sydney to North Pole, it's 8 times 15 degrees for each latitude line, plus 4 degrees to reach Sydney. That equals to 124 degrees times 60 nautical miles, makes a total of 7,440 nautical miles.
And that's correct.
We do the same from the North Pole to Santiago de Chile. The distance is 8 times 15 for the latitude lines. It's 8 times 15 plus 3 to reach Santiago. That makes a total of 123 degrees. Multiply it by 60 nautical miles and you get the real distance. That's 7,380 nautical miles. So the total distance from Sydney to Chile is 7,440 plus, that's the distance from Sydney to the North Pole, plus the distance from the North Pole to Santiago de Chile, and that makes a total of 40,820 nautical miles. And that's 27,464 kilometers.
So that is correct, because there are 60 nautical miles between each degree of latitude. But why would you even bother calculating a flight route that goes straight to the North Pole and then hangs a turn and then goes straight south down to Santiago? That doesn't make any sense at all. Did you do it because it's the one thing that the map that you're using can do correctly? Maybe, but it doesn't make sense. But now let's see how you circumnavigate.
Navigate from Sydney, Australia to Santiago de Chile. We have to count the amount of degrees between Sydney and Santiago de Chile.
Or you could just, subtract, do a little bit of math. But he likes to count these pi sections. So we'll skip ahead to where he actually gets the degrees between there. Okay, so EFG test has gotten the distance in degrees longitude between Sydney and Santiago. And he's going to tell us how far it is apart.
To circumnavigate from Sydney to Santiago, it's 14 degrees plus 8 times 15 degrees for the nautical miles plus 3.5 degrees to reach Santiago. That makes a total of 137.5 degrees. 137.5 degrees multiplied by 60 nautical miles.
60 nautical miles. These are degrees of longitude, which is different based on your latitude all across the earth. Even on the flat map, it doesn't make any sense. And if you're thinking right now, wait a second, I know what shape that is. Hold on, just hold on, we'll get there.
That makes a total of 8,250 nautical miles. That's 15,279 kilometers.
So, what is the actual distance between Sydney and Santiago? Well, planes fly it. Every day there's a flight. You can see right here, this actual flight actually took 11,529 kilometers. Sorry. That's 3,000 kilometers less than what this guy thought, according to his scientifically and practically correct map. Something's wrong. Now we can look at Google Maps and we find the same number, 11,340. That's a direct line-to-line, airport-to-airport versus the slightly modified path that an airplane has to take to come in and out of the different airports at different angles. So let's see how he wraps this up here.
I showed you how to measure distances using the Gleason Map. you can measure the latitudes, longitudes, but you cannot measure in a straight line.
Why not? If the Earth was flat and you had an accurate flat map, that's exactly what you would do. You just lay out a straight line on it and do it. And it'd be trivially easy on an accurate map to measure the distance, because you'd measure the distance, bring it to your legend, and then you'd know the distance. Easy, easy. Flat map of a flat Earth is easy to make.
Of course, you can fly straight to Chile, but
You can. But you wouldn't go that route.
you cannot measure a straight line. You cannot, because the Gleason's map is not scaled that way. It's a different ratio.
So it's wrong, you're saying. Perfect.
You can only measure using the longitude or the latitude lines.
Well, that's it. It's an inaccurate map by a guy who claims it's accurate. Thank you very much, EFG Test. He has a couple more videos. I might address them and see what kind of other nonsense he has and silliness that he does to try to make up numbers and make this obvious fake map. Well, not fake. It's great for telling time or measuring distance from the North Pole. But everything else is all completely messed up. So it's clearly not an accurate map. So I'll be looking out for that second video. So I know what you were thinking. If you're to use 60 nautical miles to each degree longitude, then between, each degree longitude at the equator, it's 60 nautical miles, and between 60 degrees, each degree longitude at the Tropic of Cancer, it's 60 miles, and at the Arctic Circle, it's 60 nautical miles, and at 1 degree south of the North Pole, it's 60 nautical miles. That means that the Earth is a giant cylinder, and the North Pole is actually 360 times 60 nautical miles in circumference somehow, with an edge that you could fall off. Maybe, I don't know. And same for the south edge of the cylinder that you now think we live on. This doesn't make sense. So thank you, EFG Test, for illustrating very clearly to us that the Gleason's map is not an accurate flat Earth map of the flat Earth. Well, because the Earth isn't flat. Can't be. But thanks anyway. So if you like this video, click on the like. You can subscribe, click the bell. If you have some comments, you think that maybe I was wrong about something, you could put it in the comments. Or if you think that I'm right and EFG Test is wrong and the Globebusters got fooled, go ahead and say that too. Thanks a lot.